Kinich is a powerhouse single-target Dendro DPS who shines with burning and burgeon reactions. Released on September 17th, 2024, he's still the most recent unit of his kind nearly 8 months later, 5-star and male. Since then, every new male character has been a 4-star with noticeable flaws, continuing a frustrating trend of undervaluing male characters. This isn't new. Male units have consistently lagged behind their female counterparts in multiple ways. The latest batch of male 4-stars only deepens the divide, as they end up as weaker versions of existing female characters. So the question remains, why are male characters still being sidelined, and what's driving this ongoing imbalance? To start, let's go back and take a look at Kinich. While his kit has unique elements, he's essentially a less valuable version of Emily. Both are single-target Dendro DPS units reliant on burning, and while Kinich also directly benefits from burgeon, those reactions often overlap, meaning Emily works just as well in most of the same teams, especially if Jingshou or Yulan aren't involved. The core difference, Kinich is forced on-field, while Emily is playable off-field, but she can also act as an on-field DPS when paired with Bennett, where her damage is still competitive. Since her damage is spread out over a duration rather than in large bursts, she ends up having a more impactful damage when not used in boss fights. She also reduces burning self-damage, which can prove to be a huge benefit to melee units. Kinich does offer some exploration utility with his movement tech, but when it comes to combat, Emily completely outclasses him. She's flexible, team-friendly, and safer to use while being about just as good as Kinich when on-field. While Kinich, like many male characters before him, is hampered by his forced on-field time and absence of team utility. Looking at the current roster, most male characters are on-field DPS units. That might not seem like a problem until you consider how little value main DPS units hold in Genshin's team-based design. Teams consist of 1 on-field unit and 3 off-field ones, since multiple on-field DPS can't operate simultaneously. For endgame content like Spiral Abyss, you only need 2 strong on-field units. Even in Imaginarium Theater, where you would want 4 in total, the mode always gives you at least 1, so you never need more than 3. Meanwhile, off-field units are in constant demand. You need 6 for Abyss and at least 9 for Imaginarium Theater and Stygian Onslaught. That's 3 times more than you'll ever need main DPS units, making off-field characters far more valuable overall. The kicker, 64% of male characters are main DPS, so once you have your 2 or 3, most of the male roster instantly loses relevance, a design trend that heavily diminishes their long-term value. The remaining third of male characters aren't doing much better. Not only are they rare, but they also struggle to compete with their female counterparts, both in power and relevance. There are only 13 male off-field units, and over half were released during version 1. Since then, we've gotten just 2 per region, except Fontaine, which gave us none. When it comes to 5-star male supports, only 5 exist, and 4 of them are from version 1. The only 5-star male support since then is Baiju, who notably was also revealed back in version 1. It's almost like Hoyo just stopped designing them altogether since then. This matters because most male supports are either 4-star and underpowered, or simply outdated, making them hard to justify in today's meta. Even with vertical investment, their old, outdated constellations pale in comparison to the disgusting monstrosities we get today. The few standouts, like the 5-year-old gods among men, Kazuha and Bennett, are the exceptions, not the rule, as most are straight up weak or only competitive under niche circumstances. Since version 2, we haven't seen a single meta-defining off-field male support. Meanwhile, the female roster has exploded with powerhouses like Yelan, Kuki, Nahida, Fiorina, Chevreuse, Xianyun, Shalonen, Mawika, Silali, Lanyan, Yansan, and Escoffier. While females get to treat themselves to the meta because of their off-field status, there has been almost 0 of these types of units for males in general. No one talks about the fact that from patch 3.6 to 5.2, spanning 13.5 patches, not one off-field male was released. For comparison, people widely discussed Shenhe's 16-patch rerun Drought that occurred during the same exact period. But where is that same energy for male supports? Sure, there was a brief female support drought between Yao Yao in 3.4 and Lynette in 4.0, but it lasted only 5 patches. After that, female supports have dropped almost every patch. To pour even more salt into the wound, the majority of these supports were meta-defining too. This massive gap in off-field male supports makes it nearly impossible to build a top-tier team of only male characters. Instead, metacomps are now dominated by female units, not because of favoritism in usage, but because their designs simply make them stronger and more flexible. The issue is so bad that trying to play a male unit affected by power creep means relying on 2 or more strong female supports just to make them usable. Male characters characters in Genshin are overwhelmingly niche, far more than average, whether it's giving them a single gimmick like Chongyun's triple melt burst, or hard limiting them through kit restrictions like Kinich relying on burning. Hoyoverse often boxes them into rigid, narrow roles. About 53% of male characters are locked into a niche that they can't break out of. For female characters, that number drops to 41%, with most being much more flexible or versatile. While niche units can be meta under the right conditions, their overall value takes a hit, especially in modern endgame content. The Spiral Abyss now features bosses that limit certain reactions or characters, making rigid team building a major liability. Units that only work in specific comps end up getting benched fast, and male characters suffer from this far more often. Sure, a niche unit can still dominate if they have enough power to make their niche worthwhile, but that's not the case for most male characters. They're not just niche, they're generally weaker than their female counterparts. Right now, only 3 male characters are truly meta: Bennett, Neuvillette, and Kazuha. Meanwhile, 7 top-tier units are female, thanks to their insane damage, utility, and/or team amplification. And males, they just aren't designed to compete, they're just built weaker, plain and simple. Even setting aside top-tier picks, male characters still lag behind in raw power. Just look at the most recent 4-star releases. On the female side, we've got Yansan and Lanyan, both incredibly powerful. Yansan acts as a pseudo-healer and a major DPS amplifier, offering a huge flat attack buff, 30% attack at C2, 25% damage bonus at C6, and a 40% team-wide damage bonus with Cinder City. Lanyan brings massive value too. She's a strong shielder that shreds enemy resistances by 40% with Viridescent Fenrir, gives 60 elemental mastery at C4, and boosts the next unit's attack by 48% with Thrilling Tales. Meanwhile, the latest male 4-stars, Dahlia and Aoife, are clearly weaker. Take Aoife for example. He shares the same element, weapon, and role as Lanyan, yet falls short in almost every way. He offers 40% resistance shred via Viridescent, 20% damage bonus with Hakushin Ring, and a boost to the electrocharged reaction. He could also pivot into a support role for Anemo DPS with Thrilling Tales and Cinder City, but he has many problems. His only kit-based buff is locked to electrocharged, his healing is outright weak, and both his defensive and offensive utility require him to stay on field. Compared to Lanyan's flexibility and raw support value, Aoife is just outclassed, as she can support an electrocharged team using the same setup, though it will be slightly worse, while also being functional in significantly more team setups. Dahlia also falls flat, especially when compared to Yansan. He offers a decent shield, but beyond that, his only utility is a niche attack speed buff, which few characters benefit from, and a 20% attack buff from Noblesse Oblige. That's it. No meaningful damage, no team-wide impact, nothing that makes him stand out. Next to Yansan's loaded kit, Dahlia feels like a wet sock. Males are simply just not as strong as females are because Hoyo designs them that way. Females are about 3% more likely to be a 5-star, which has become a huge deal since Fontaine dropped, as 5-stars now have a higher power budget on average than 4-stars. Females are 22% more likely to be meta, the only males left being the plug-and-play Neuvillette, Kazuha, who is hanging on by a thread, and Bennett, the mistake. Females are about 24% more likely to be generalists, meaning they fit in multiple team comps and see more play, and crucially, females are 54% more likely to be usable off-field, which is a role that is 3 times more valuable than on-field only. When considering these factors, females tend to be, drumroll please, about 225% more valuable than male characters are on average. While the initial numbers might not have seemed huge at first glance, they do add up, and the message ends up becoming clear. Female characters aren't just better, they're significantly more powerful and valuable across the board. So why are female characters pushed harder, made better in almost every way, and released more often? The common explanation thrown out there is men don't sell, but there's no solid evidence for that. Looking at Genshin Lab's banner sales data, which is imperfect, but it's the best we have outside of Sensor Tower's revenue reports that are not banner-based, it's clear that both male and female banners appear in the top and bottom sales list. Yes, some male banners rank low, but many also do well, and females follow the same exact trend. These sales don't neatly follow this sort of line. Instead, the numbers seem to follow a different trajectory. They are influenced mostly on character power level, popularity, and constellation value. At the time of the top 2 highest grossing banners, each character was very popular, they worked all the time, and they had valuable constellations that turned them into powerhouses when properly invested into. The lowest grossing banners are the exact opposite. These units are generally on the weaker side of power, while also being very niche. They are not as popular, though Xiao and Yai do tend to be generally well liked, and their constellation value is quite low. low, as each are pretty C6 robust. This trend fits the rest of the top and bottom 10 too, as characters like Ayaka and Nahida are very popular, powerful, they worked in many places at the time of their banners, and they have strong constellations, while Tartaglia, Klee, and Kokomi are the opposite. This explains why the men don't sell narrative pops up. It's less common for Hoyoverse to make male characters, which therefore gives them lower outdated constellation value, to make these characters powerful and generalists, and to make them supports, which would increase their overall value. This is why male characters appear to sell less, even though they're actually just as popular. Across multiple popularity polls, yes, of varying credibility but still telling, male characters consistently rank alongside females, often taking up half of the top 10 and sometimes even landing the #1 spot. It's not just a Genshin phenomenon either. A recent Honkai Star Rail poll showed 6 out of the top 10 most liked characters were male, including the entirety of the top 4. The demand is clearly there. Just look at Love and Deep Space, a gacha game featuring only male characters. Despite its focus on only men, it's been a massive hit. According to Sensor Tower, it's been one of the top 3 highest grossing gacha games since July 2024. So yes, men do sell, and they can sell incredibly well. The issue isn't the audience. The issue is that Hoyoverse rarely puts the same effort into male character design, male support roles, or male promotion. The market exists. So if male characters are popular and the only reason they underperform is because Hoyoverse designs them that way, then why not just make male characters good? Unless there's some hidden internal factor we don't know about, the answer is simple. Hoyoverse just chooses not to. There's no clear statistical or commercial reason male characters should be weaker or less frequent. If the numbers don't justify it, then it comes down to creative bias or internal priorities. This kind of neglect alienates a large portion of the community, players who want male characters and who are potentially ready to spend. We've already seen this market in action. Love and Deep Space proves it. When male characters are given care, quality, and focus, and a little bit of fan service, they sell, and they sell big. Ignoring what is essentially an untapped market is more than just a missed opportunity. It's downright foolish, especially since they were doing it before. Right now, Genshin is losing players, and while there are many reasons for this, like half-baked quality of life updates, poor storytelling, bigotry, dual meta shifts, severe power creep, bland characters, and erratic world building, one major issue is often overlooked. Genshin has practically abandoned part of its own audience. The near total absence of strong or even present male characters has driven away a significant chunk of the player base. Many of these fans have migrated to Honkai Star Rail despite its flaws, or to Love and Deep Space, simply because those games actually cater to them, something Genshin also used to do. Alienating a once engaged fan base is never smart, as it cuts off a reliable revenue stream. Less revenue leads to fewer resources, and fewer resources means lower quality characters, storytelling, and content. It's a lose-lose cycle, and Genshin is already showing the signs. Natlan's release has made one thing obvious. Hoyoverse is scrambling for revenue. The greedy Mawika and Seat Lolly debut double banner ramped up fan service, turning the newest Archon into a bundle of marketable traits, increased power creep of 5 stars on their constellations, the Spiral Abyss heavily favoring current banners, making older comps feel unviable, characters becoming more restrictive, often requiring new units just to function. Every move screams desperation, and the pitiful part is none of it is working. Raiden's 4th rerun and Yoimiya's 5th in January 2024 sold nearly exactly the same as January 2025's stacked debut banner featuring Mawika the Archon and Citlali. That month also had the benefit of having 2/3 of Chlorant and Arlecchino's dual rerun banner revenue, while 2024 January included the first day of Xianyun's debut alongside Nahida's rerun and the final 9 days of Navia's debut alongside Ayaka's rerun, which both make up to about 10% of each respective banner's total revenue. That's a yikes. The husbando situation is abysmal. Fans who love male characters haven't been catered to in over 8 months, and when they do get itty-bitty crumbs, those crumbs have mold. This steady neglect has pushed players away, some temporarily, and many permanently, from a game they once adored. Natlan's failure isn't solely due to this, but the complete mishandling of male characters has absolutely contributed to the worst state Genshin has ever seen. This is especially frustrating because there's a solution sitting right in front of us. But now, I want to hear your thoughts. What do you think of the male situation in Genshin? Do you think it's as bad as I mentioned? Do you consider yourself a husbando enjoyer? Are you not? Do you even care about this situation at all? Tell me what you think in the comments below. But with that, I will skedaddle. Thank you all so much for watching, and I hope to see you all next time. Bye bye.